Welcome everyone to Cosmic Soul Alignment. And today I have an amazing guest, a good friend of mine, Julie Scott. Now, Julie is an immersive meditation coach and hypnotherapist. And today we are going to talk about consciousness. So welcome, Julie. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, and thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Now, your work in meditation and hypnotherapy and exploring consciousness can be deeply transformative. So I'd like to ask you, what was the turning point or experience in your life that led you down this spiritual path?
Um, well, I think it was I went down the self-help path, it's probably been 19 years now that I've been on this particular path, and I went through the typical conscious ways of trying to make change in my life, talk therapy, working with coaches, talking one-on-one, asking questions, trying to get deeper, what's underneath, what you're saying. And it was, for me, it was just kind of frustrating that I found myself working on the same habits and patterns that I thought I had taken care of. Frankly,
Yes.
it was about my own growth, and I just was kind of frustrated that I wasn't seeing the movement and the forward momentum that I was looking for in my own life. And I also became a coach in the process, and was doing all the same processes that I was doing with my own coach with my clients, and seeing them change only while we were working together. And then when we stopped working together, they'd go right back into their old patterns again. And so that left me thinking there's got to be a deeper level to this. And so I started researching the unconscious, the subconscious, the superconscious, right? The consciousness within, and just learned that our subconscious is where our beliefs are stored. So I started investigating hypnotherapy and did some sessions with a hypnotherapist myself, made some changes there. And then I got into something called immersive meditation, which is a blend of hypnotherapy and meditation. And that's when I started making epic changes in my life. I mean, I literally found myself doing things differently without thinking about it, without, for example, I call myself a recovering people pleaser. And I'd find myself saying no when I normally would say yes, and I didn't feel bad about it. And I was like, wow, this is really amazing. And so anything that works for me, I will turn around and bring it into my practice with my clients. And so I started working with my clients first with hypnotherapy. And then what I really loved about the immersive meditation idea is that everyone has a place within them where they can go and get and tap into the wisdom of the universe, in my opinion. I mean, the connection to all that is, because I believe we are all a slice of all that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all connected, and we're
Good,
all
everything. Mm-hmm.
right. And so, I found for myself that I could go within and ask myself any question, and I would get an answer that I couldn't get otherwise. And my clients found the same. They would get their actual truth. And it's always what was for their best and highest good, in alignment with what they truly wanted and desired in their life. And so I knew I was onto something. And so that's kind of what it was. It was my own frustration that brought me to it. And then being able to recognize change in my own life, I've been able to share it with others.
There you go. And a highly successful coach now, which is wonderful because you're doing such great work. I love it. But I mean, today's show is mainly about consciousness. But just let me ask you, how would you define consciousness, from your perspective? How would you describe it?
Consciousness to me is energy, right? It's
Mhm.
energy. It's who we really are. And it is what makes up everything. It makes up, I mean, it's in everything. It's up your nose. It's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. And it is what creates everything. So it's the basis of everything. So, it's like what they call the quantum, right? The quantum field is consciousness. It is how we create, basically. I mean, we have thoughts and feelings, and then the more we think the same thought over and over, we create something solid in this 3D world that we live in these 3D bodies, right? But the consciousness is all that is. So that's the way I look at it. It's energy and all that is, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yep, I agree. That's my understanding of it too. So when you talk about, the power being within us, where exactly is this power located and how does it connect to our consciousness then? Where
You
would you
know,
describe the location of it?
that's a really good question. I mean, for me, I think it's helpful for us humans to think of it in terms of our body, which is what we're in. And so for me, it's always here. It's in my heart space. It's like the center. And I also call this home, by the way, home, the heart center, and it's not necessarily the organ beating. It's just the center of us. And that's
It's not the
where our
physical location, is that what you're saying? It's not a physical location?
it is and it isn't. I mean, it's if you can imagine, I mean, because when your eyes are closed and you imagine your heart space, it's really just it's a point in space, right? And so to me, just it's a center point of your being, the center of your consciousness, that part of you that is connected to all that is. So I don't know. I guess I can't really explain it other than I visualize it being the center of my human body in my heart space. And it's the center of my consciousness that connects me to all that is.
Yeah, and that's where you go when you're connecting. And I suppose
Yes.
that's right for you. That's how you would describe it because it's your experience. My experience is slightly different. I find I've got to get in at the center of the earth, and that's where I seem to connect
Yeah.
with my inner self. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I suppose it's different for everybody. So, how can we access this? How can we harness this power then? What is it we do to be able to access and change our world?
Well, as much as I talk about the body, we actually have to get beyond the body
Hmm.
because the body really limits us, and the body is really connected to the past. Our past thoughts and feelings, and this is, our bodies show the results of our past thoughts and feelings. So you have to get your physiology out of the way. So that's why the idea of deeply relaxing or just really softening your body, not sleeping, but
Hmm.
deeply relaxed but awake. Almost so that I try to get to a place where I can't feel my body. I know it's still there, but I can't feel it. So that is the way I find is the best for me to connect. And I encourage my clients to do the same thing. It's like, just relax your body to the point where you almost can't feel it. You move your head into that place where it feels like it's just floating, relaxing your shoulders and just letting your whole body just soften so that you can't feel it. I think that's getting the physiology out of the way is key to
Hmm.
being able to access the higher
Yeah, and
consciousness.
and we'll talk a bit more in a bit about, getting out of the body and,
Yeah.
about our physical body. But uh, while we're on that subject of accessing our inner knowing, our inner being, what are some of the biggest obstacles then that people can experience when they're trying to connect with their inner selves, and how can they overcome them?
Well, a lot of the obstacles is that they try and make something happen. I used to try that too. It's like, because we're such doing beings, right? Right.
Being
But
beings.
doing beings, right? But the thing is that we are beings, and we really
Mhm.
we really stink at being because that's really the whole idea of it. If we can
That's so
just
true. We stink at
right,
being.
if we could just be. So I
Mhm.
find the biggest obstacle is even for myself and my clients as they try and make something happen. Like they try and, they're trying to figure something out, or they're trying to do something while they're meditating. And it's the answer that's completely the opposite. It's like you have to just stop doing anything and just
Mhm.
be. And
Mhm.
in the being, that's when you make that connection. Because the
Mhm.
doing is very much associated with the body,
Yeah.
and the being is associated with connecting to the consciousness.
Yeah, and when you're trying to be, if you attempt to do, is a form of resistance in my
One
understanding. Yeah, that's
thousand
just gonna
percent.
it's gonna push it all away and you're not gonna get that connection. So yeah, absolutely just relax and chill and go within and just allow yourself, like you said, to be. Mm.
Yeah, and the other thing too is so many people say to me, "Well, I just can't stop thinking." It's like, of course you can't stop thinking. We can't stop thinking, not when we're awake,
Yeah.
right? But the whole point is meditation is not about not thinking. It's about focused thinking.
Hmm.
That's why we focus on the breath. That's why we focus on stillness. We focus on softening, relaxing, opening. Even if sometimes some modes of meditation have you have a mantra that you chant. That's something that just keeps your focus on that focused thinking. That's all that it is.
Hmm.
And when you think about it, you can be in a meditative state when your eyes are open too. Like when there are people you can get hypnotized almost when you're driving, right? You can get
Yeah.
into a meditative state when you're journaling, right? When you're
Mm.
writing, because you have to be very focused. So it's just focused thinking. But with your eyes closed, I feel like that really helps you so much to stop focusing out here
Yeah.
and go within and
See
just
what's within, yeah.
see what comes. Just be
Mhm.
curious and open.
It's funny you should mention that, about driving your car. I often, go to the store and then get home and think, how did I get back here? I don't remember
Same.
driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that quite a lot. It's
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it? Let me
Yeah.
touch back on something you said earlier about, the thoughts that you're thinking. How, and from your perspective, how do our thoughts shape our reality? And how can you change them and make them like a tool for empowerment?
Well, I think I can't remember her name, but she's famous. She said, "What you think about, you bring about." I think her name's Lisa. Can't think of her name. Anyways, what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah.
What you focus on grows, right? I mean, it's the whole idea that once I think the key to making any kind of change in your life or um, creating anything you want in your life is you have to become aware of your thoughts.
It's
And
the
one of the
first
things
step,
I
isn't it?
Yes, and one of the things I just was listening to one of my a podcast that I listen to on occasion, and the way he put this, it was really made so much sense. I just want to start with if you believe, which I believe, that this consciousness, right, is loving, right, is a
Hmm.
loving consciousness, it's a loving intelligence, right, or whatever you believe in this, but whatever all this is, let's just call it consciousness because that's what we're talking about. It's a loving consciousness, and it only wants us to have, be, and do whatever we desire, to be abundant in all areas of our lives and to be happy all the time and peaceful all the time, right? I mean, just that's our natural state. In fact, that's our natural state of our consciousness is peace, happiness, contentment, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
So given that, this is how our thoughts come into play. Whenever you are feeling bad, like you feel anything but the higher end of the emotions, curiosity, I think, is the lowest one, and then uh, going up, maybe pride even. But any of the low level emotions, that's a signal to you to think, what am I thinking? And what he said, what made so much sense to me is, again, consciousness is a loving consciousness in this universe. If you have a negative thought, it's not true. So, I mean, the idea is that the thought is not true. Whatever you're telling yourself that's making you feel tense or scared or anxious or whatever, worried, is not
Hmm.
true. And you may
Hmm.
not know what the truth is, but if you get quiet, it will come to you. But the
Yeah.
nice thing about it is that you can actually, it's almost like a daily walking meditation way of being. When you feel anything but peaceful and happy and content, whatever you're telling yourself is not true. And I mean, that just made so much sense to me, because if you understand that our whole reason for being here is to live out a peaceful, happy life,
Mhm.
it's only our thoughts that create the angst. My thoughts alone cause my pain. I say that all the time. It's so true. My thoughts alone. And he goes on to say, it's not so much the experience, like losing your job or going through a divorce or, having an injury or whatever. It's not the experience itself that makes you feel bad. It's your thoughts about it. I lost my job. I'm not going to find another job. What if I don't make enough money? I'm not going to pay my bills, right? I'm divorced. I'm never going to find anybody. We just go down the tube. And again,
All
it's the
these rabbit
ego.
holes, yeah.
Yeah. The ego mind is what just takes us down to
Yeah.
the grave.
And we're
So
always, I think probably stuck in the worst case scenario. When we're going through something, we're experiencing an issue or a challenge in our lives, it's always the worst case outcome that we
yeah,
think about. And like you said, where your focus goes, your energy flows, and that's what we stand a really good chance of creating that worst case scenario.
so
If we
true.
don't, switch our thinking, we need to be, like we say, the first step is awareness of what we're thinking, what our thoughts are, and how they are possibly creating our future. And then, switch that all around. Start concentrating on, the best outcome could be this, and start putting your energy there and see how that works for you.
Exactly. And it feels so much better. I used to call myself a feel good junkie. It's like, I just want to feel good. I don't want to feel bad. And, most people can identify either feel good or I feel bad. Right. So it's like, and that's your cue. It's like, you feel bad. You're thinking something that's going to create something you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And I think some people aren't aware of how your thoughts will create your reality the more you focus on them. So hopefully that's a good pointer for people that are hoping to change their life. Let's put it that way.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, all you got to do is look around your life and you can see what your thoughts have been.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't like what's going on in your life, start up there. Yeah, be
Yeah,
aware of
exactly.
what you're
That's the
creating. Yeah,
It's
that's
the
true.
source, just the source.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm. All right, you were talking about, you are much more than your body. So what do you mean by that? What does it truly mean to be more than just our physical form?
Well, I say straight out that I'm not my body. This is
Hmm.
just my vessel to experience life through because I know my true self is actually the consciousness that we were talking about. I'm that sliver of the consciousness that has chosen to be in this form to experience all that this Julie can experience for this lifetime, right? So the body is just a vessel, and further to that, it makes me feel good to think that I'm not this body because then the less I can associate with this body, the more powerful I feel, right? Because the thing is that the body, is so limited, right? It can only
Yeah.
see a certain spectrum of light. It can only hear a certain amount of sound, right? And and it just limits us. But when you think about who you are truly from a consciousness standpoint, you're unlimited. I mean,
Yeah.
you can leave this body on astral travel if you want
Mhm.
to. I mean, and I believe that's how beings from other planets come here. Is it's just their
Mhm.
consciousness that's traveling. It's
Yeah.
not their physical being itself. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's and again, the ultimate fear of humans is death, right? So if you're not really your body, then you can't really die, right? Because consciousness being energy, because everything is energy anyways, right? Energy
Yeah.
doesn't, you can't destroy energy. It just transforms into something
Yeah.
else, right?
I think
So,
the fear is, people they don't have an understanding of life after death. They think that when this physical body dies, that's it. You're a goner.
yep.
But there is so much more. I truly believe that.
Well, I mean, all you
But
have
just
to
starting.
do, right? I mean, all you have to do is watch one of the thousands and thousands of near death experience videos on
Mhm.
YouTube to understand that there's nothing to fear because every single, I mean, I don't care who it is from any walk of life, any country, any language, they're all talking about all they feel is love. They feel
Yeah.
connected to loved ones. They are surrounded by love. They don't want to come back to the sewer. I've heard a few of them say they don't want to come back
To
to
this
this
too.
plane into the sewer again. Because if you think about it, I mean, and that to me is just, it makes me feel so, it's not to diminish my experience in this life, in this body, but it's just the idea that I will never know death, right? It'll just be like I've fallen asleep and I've woken up and I'm back at source. I can witness another vessel expiring, but it's also comforting to know that that person's consciousness is still here and around us. And it's just gone back into what's all around me, and I feel and in fact, I had an experience of this with my sister, as you know, passed away in December of 2022. We were very close. But I'm so thankful that I had the beginnings of this understanding even then, because I've really taken a deep dive into all of this, what we're talking about since her death. In fact, it was part of the impetus for me to get in deeper into the spirituality side of it, the consciousness side of it. And I've had some very real experiences having her with me. Even though she's not physically here, she has been with me. I see her when I go into my heart, I see her in my heart every morning. If I just think of her, she's there. And I've had I've had a lot of interesting experiences we have bats that fly around out in our backyard at night around the lights. And it was very soon after she passed. And I thought, if I know Kim, she'll probably pop into one of those bats and fly around. And as soon as I thought that, I heard her laughter from a bat flying by. And I was like, wow. But I think anything like that is possible. And it's wonderful and amazing and exciting to think of those things. And they're not scary. It opens you up to a more expansive way of looking at the world, to consider things like that. So yeah, I think it's a healthy thing to get to think beyond the body and to realize that we're not the body. So I hope I answered that question in like a very roundabout way.
Have you had any other metaphysical experiences, something that is not, you can't witness in the physical?
Yes, I actually have. I had 2 experiences with entities or ghosts. The first one was when I was probably 10 or 11 years old, and I had moved out of the bedroom that I was sharing with my sister because I wanted my own space, and my grandfather had passed away, and he used to live with us, and so I took over his room. And one night he always would sit in this rocking chair that was right by the window, and it was on a rug, and the rest of the floor was very wide plank wood floors. This is an old farmhouse built in the 1800s, so it's very old. Mm-hmm. And one night I'm laying in bed, and my bedroom door is shut. Everyone else is in bed, and I hear that rocking chair creaking. It's like, and I pull the covers down and I look, and I can see the chair moving. And I was like, oh! And then I heard the chair slide off the rug, but I kept the covers over my head because I was just scared as a little kid, because, you're not taught that there's really nothing to fear. I didn't know that at 10 or 11 years old. And in the morning when I woke up, the chair was on the wood floor. So that happened. And then I had another very real experience as an adult, probably about 15 years ago now. I was in North Carolina at my friend's grandmother's house, and this house is very old. It was built with the wood slats across the wall like this. I forget what you call that, but it was really thin wood, but just that's how they would build the house. And they would build one room, and then they'd build another room, and then they'd build another room. So this house was probably built in the mid 1700s, 1800s. It was very, very old. And I'm sitting in one of the rooms, and I can see into the room next to me, and I had a light on, and that room was dark, and there was a big wingback chair sitting next to the fireplace in the room I could see into. And it's probably 1:00 in the morning, and I'm just late reading. I have a light on, and I don't know what made me look into that room, but I looked into the room, and I saw a woman clear as a bell sitting in that wingback chair that I've never seen before. And she had on like a little white, like a maid's cap maybe, and a high collared thing with a white collar on it and some belt around it or something. She was kind of, I don't know. I could see a lot of details. She even had lace on her, on the wrist here. I stared at her for a long time, and I was like, I kept trying to make sure that I was seeing what I was seeing. I was like, wow, she's just sitting there. And then she turned and she looked at me, and I was like, And I looked away and then I looked back and she was gone. I was like, because I wasn't scared. I was just startled that she looked at me because I was talking myself out of it, but there she was. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that,
Okay.
I've always been open to that. And now that I've, grown into a more open and less scaredy cat version of myself, I'm hoping to have other mystical experiences like that because
Yeah.
I'm ready for them
So
now.
so they definitely cemented your belief then that, metaphysical interactions are actually a thing.
Oh, 100%. That's the thing I've always say. It's like you can't argue with lived experience. And I experienced both of those things. They were real. And yeah, and it's not, I think it's unfortunate that movies make these things scary, just like they make
Yeah.
aliens coming to our planet scary. Like they're always
It's
out
always
to
a
get
bad
us or,
thing.
or
Hmm.
eat us or whatever, take over our planet. It's like, I don't believe any of that. I think that there's so much out there that we could learn from and, and just grow from experience. And I think they're all,
Hmm.
again, I believe that this consciousness is about love. And I also think too, it's like the more that I believe that even on this planet and, in my daily life, I think the world is filled with wonderful, loving, giving, caring people. And
Hmm.
that's what I find. I mean, I met you.
That's
I
what you
mean, that's,
experience.
yeah, it's like whatever I believe to be true, that's what I experience. And I believe that about the universe. It's a loving
Yeah,
universe
it
and
is.
there's nothing to fear. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to take a short break. So hang on, we will be right back. Thank you,
okay.
Julie. Welcome back. I'm here today with Julie Scott, and we are talking about all things consciousness. So before the break, we were talking about many different things. We've touched on a lot of subjects actually, but I want to ask you, what in your perception, what is the relationship between our physical existence and our soul's journey?
I think that, they can be one and the same, but oftentimes they're not because I think most people spend the majority of their life resisting the the urges that they feel, the intuition that they have, the
Hmm.
gut feeling, they getting caught up in what they should be doing or how they think they should be, or there's so much pressure from outside influences for us to connect with our inner self. But what I do know to be true for myself, from my own lived experience, is that now that I am connected to that part of me, um, and I listen to the whispers of my soul. And that's, by the way, what it does. It does not shout, it whispers. Okay. So you got to get quiet to hear it. And you got to slow down. But now that I am listening, my life has changed completely. I mean, it's
Same.
from my health to my weight to my relationships to my job, what I do for a living, how I feel regularly, the people I'm surrounded with, where I live. I mean, just literally the relationships, even with my own family, it's all changed. And I'm in such a better, more flow of life because I'm in alignment finally with what my soul longs for. And it turns out it's what I long for too, now that I'm connected. But I didn't know that for 40-ish years. It's been a while. It's that I was flailing in life and just fighting against all the goodness that was trying to get to me. Honestly. And I can't say enough how effortless it is when you are in flow, when you are connected to your soul and you're listening to its guidance. And I think of all the time how it makes so much sense to allow yourself to be led, right? Because your soul has like this 50 or 500,000 foot view, right? Or just for a better analogy, it's standing on the top of the mountain and it can see you walking around in the valley and you can only see about 10 yards ahead of you. It can see to the next mountaintop and the next mountaintop, and it can guide you for the easiest, least resistance to go where you want to go. And I know now that what I desire is what it desires. And it's like the ultimate muscle to have on your side and that's what it means to me to be in the flow of it. It's just like this heavy, strong stream that just pulls you along in life. And it's just so nice, but it takes surrender.
Yeah, it does.
It takes, I think so many people, well, we live in a patriarchal society, so many people are in that masculine energy, and just that shift into more of the feminine. And I'm not saying that men are bad and women are better. We all have masculine and feminine energy in us, right? So every man, every woman, right? But it's just recognizing the power of being, the strength in allowing, right? And you become a magnet to everything that you desire because you've let go of the tight grip you've had trying to control the outcome. It's like, I love that saying. It's like, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I mean, but I mean, that to me is it.
And your soul knows what it wants. And you, as a physical being, you just can't remember that. That's what we're here to find that out for ourselves. And Earth, I think, is a tough school, a really tough school. We come here, we don't know anything. We're learning from scratch. We have no idea which direction we're going in. And like you said, life's plenty hard. So if we just let go and allow our true essence just to guide us, then we're so much faster. We'll stop resisting and just go with it and go with what feels good, not with what we're told to do, what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to say, how we're supposed to behave. If we can just put all that to the back of our minds and just go with what feels natural.
I had another experience in a meditation. I think it was last year, but it was so powerful. I went very deep, and it was a meditation where I sat for maybe 45 minutes or maybe closer to an hour. It was a longer meditation. And because I had the time, I was like, I'm just going to go there. And I was given this like a vision or an understanding or a sense of like being pulled up, not necessarily my body pulled up, but my consciousness pulled up high and showed me. And it was like this view of my life. And I could see very clearly everything that I ever was sad about, like, or any failure or any time that any traumatic anything, they all showed up as red dots in my life. And it was like they all connected to show. And it was like I was shown this whole web of how all of those had to happen to bring me here. It was like
Where you are now. Mm-hmm.
oh, it was so, I was just sobbing. It was so beautiful to see how, and I think that most people look at, the problems they have in their life, or the closed doors, the missed opportunities, or the failures, or the mistakes, or the, losses, or whatever, as, things to be sad about. But I can see now that all of those things were a part of what I had to experience to be able
Go
to
through.
arrive here. And it was beautiful to see how it was all orchestrated for me. Like I had such a strong sense that I was being held and carried all along the way. It
And was
was
safe.
beautiful. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I wrote about it in my journal probably 6 or 7 times because it was just so powerful. And of course, then I tried to get back there again and again and ruined my next half a dozen meditations because I was trying to do something.
Trying
But
to
it
get
was,
there.
but it was so fascinating I'm just so grateful for that mystical experience that I had, being able to see, to be given that view, to have that sight, to
So
see
then
that.
let me ask you then, just on that, did that change your perception of failure? Because
Oh,
I believe that there is no such thing as failure. You've just done something that doesn't work and you need to try and find something else. Did that do the same for
abs-
you? Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I mean, I can't say that I don't dip in and out of, my knowing. So, but
Human, of course you do.
But one of the things that I do on a regular basis is I go back to that journal, and I have a giant flag on it so that I can go back and I can read that again and capture that feeling again of how I felt so confident and felt so supported and loved and connected, and just this deep sense of knowing that, like I said, everything's happening for me, for a reason, to help me, to move me into the direction, and it's oftentimes my own stubbornness and my own, you know, ego mind taking me to a place of being in fear, that I make a choice from fear, and I've never made a choice from fear that's ever served me.
Hmm.
And
And
I
that
can
that
see
is
that.
true. Mhm.
I can see that now. And yes, I do look at failure differently. I absolutely do. And I don't look forward to failure, but I know that it's a necessary part of my human existence. And that's how I learn and grow. So,
Yeah.
yes.
I had a conversation with a good friend not that long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, and she put something straight. This was like a clanger, it was like a baseball bat to the back of the head, this light bulb moment when I was telling her, I'm determined to do this. I'm so determined. And she's like that, don't be determined. I said, why not? She said, because being determined is a form of resistance, even using the word itself. And it was like, you
Yeah.
know, that is so true. Because when you're determined, you're pushing, right?
Yep.
You're pushing through, and that just puts up a big roadblock. Why
Yep.
didn't I think of that earlier? Because I wasn't ready. We've
Yep.
all got to go through these certain things and all these realizations, which helps us to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes me think of a book I've read called Force versus Power.
Uh-huh.
It's the same idea. It's like, when we try and force things,
Uh-huh.
that then we lose all of our
It's not
power.
working.
It's when we
Uh-huh.
just allow things to come that we really tap into a power, So
Uh-huh.
I love that.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier on about, being led, divine guidance.
Mhm.
How do you recognize that? What does it feel like to you when you're being divinely guided?
It doesn't ever feel scary. In fact, it feels, well, for one thing, I can feel it in my body. I can feel how, when I'm getting guidance from my ego, my body just goes, like, I get like tight in my back. I get, my stomach gets in my stomach. is really a big antenna for me, but my stomach will get a cramp in it, right? Or I can tell my breath kind of, shortens a little bit. But
Yep.
when I get guidance from my true self, right, from the divine, right,
Mm-hmm.
I feel excited. I feel, I mean, it may be something that can be something that I've never done before, right? So there's always a little bit of fear around it, but it's also excitement. Excitement. It's like, that would be cool. That would be, and it feels open. It feels tingly. It feels like warm too. So it's just a
Feels
different
light.
feeling. It feels
Mm-hmm.
light. It does. It feels light
Yeah.
versus heavy for sure. That's another part of it. But yeah, I can always tell because it's hopeful and it opens me up to possibility as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to making me feel like I only have one or two choices. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's always a plethora of choices. It's like,
Oh, there
that's when we
is.
start to
Yeah.
feel boxed in when we think we don't have any choices, and we always have choices.
Yeah, we always do. I feel it's slightly different to that. If
Mm.
I, and if it's overwhelming, yes, I get like a wave of energy coming from my head and going all the way down. It's like
Ooh,
goosebumps. It's like a
yeah.
real, all my cells are vibrating. So I know then that's a good thing. And I had to ask, I need you to be a bit more, you need to make these more obvious to me, because if I'm getting guidance from somewhere, I am not feeling it. I'm not understanding it. I don't believe I'm receiving it. So you need to make it a bit more obvious. So that's now what I get when I've got positive. When I've got a negative, it's almost like, how you get goosebumps in your belly. Like knots, not goosebumps, sorry, knots in your
Yeah.
belly. I feel it's almost like a burning, and then it just feels like it goes bloop and falls right out down into the earth. It's like a horrible,
Oh,
heavy feeling. I don't like that at all.
yeah.
So if you're not sure about what you're getting for your guidance, ask for it to be like a baseball bat to the back of the head. Very, very
Uh,
obvious. But that makes such a difference.
you made
Hmm.
me think of something else too that happens quite often. Goosebumps is one that I have gotten quite a few
Hmm.
times. Um, and then also the other one is I'll cry because I cry. I'm a
Yeah,
crier. I'm a
you're a
but I
crier.
cry happy tears. Like it's just like when I read something, and it speaks to me, and I feel like I'm getting guidance through this book that I'm reading, or it's been
Yeah,
put in front of me for that reason. I'll read it and it'll just bring me to tears because it's just
yeah.
it feels so true. Even if it's something I've never read before.
Hmm.
I can tell when it's something that's been given to me. It makes me cry happy tears,
Yeah,
just
and
like
it's
that.
something that you're in alignment with, right? So it's resonance. And if you get
Absolutely.
that good feeling, I get that quite a lot, when I'm reading self-development books or whatever. But if something resonates with me, that's where I feel it in the body. So
Yeah.
it's almost like it becomes my truth. Yeah, are
Yes.
you much the
100%.
same?
It's like when you read something, you go like that.
Hmm.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
true, right?
Light bulb moment, yes.
For
And
sure.
we have many of those throughout our years, don't we? So many of
Yes,
them.
absolutely.
Hmm. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about um, time and ego being illusions. What do you
Ooh.
think about that?
Um, well, it makes sense if you think that time is an illusion, because I'll bet anyone listening can think of an example of when time was going by so fast. Like, for example, I can think of being in a new relationship with my partner. Even, we've been together for 16 years, but when we first got together, boy, the time would fly by because it was so exciting and new, and just 4 hours would go by like 30 minutes, right?
Time
But
flies when you're having fun.
it does. And then it's elastic that way. And then at the same time, when I was the job that I had before I decided to go full time into my coaching business, I would sit and stare at the clock. It
Hmm.
would move at a snail's pace. And I was just so ready to get out of there. I didn't want to be there. And so then time would crawl. So it makes sense that time isn't real. It's just a concept that we have in our heads that we've all bought into, right?
Yeah.
Because in the field of consciousness, there is no time or space, right? It's just, there's no, it's all right now. It's all right now. It's all
Present
right now.
moment. Yeah.
Right. And also, if you think about it, the past doesn't exist anymore, only in our minds,
Yeah.
right? And the future doesn't either, only in our
Mhm.
minds, right?
Yep.
So, what was the other one? It was time and ego, right?
Ego. About
Yeah.
how my ego, holds us back. So what's your
Oh,
perception of that?
the ego's a bugger.
Yes. Yes.
it
Absolutely is.
It is, well, I mean, I've seen memes and things that say kill the ego. It's like, no, the ego has a place. There's a purpose
Has a
for it. It
purpose.
stops,
Yeah.
right. It stops us from jumping off a cliff. I mean, it stops us from doing a lot of crazy things, but it also is constantly on the lookout for danger. And it's
Mm-hmm.
very connected to the oldest part of our brain, the reptilian brain, right? And one of our biggest fears is not being accepted, right? I mean, that's a big thing for us. I mean, if in caveman days, if we weren't accepted, we could be out of the tribe and that meant death, right? So anytime, and especially in modern society, we have so many points of comparison with other people that we're constantly in the state of like, our ego is just running us. It's like, what do they think of me? Am I
Mm-hmm.
doing okay? Am I behind? Am I ahead? Am I making enough money? Do I drive the right car? Have I got a big enough house? Are my kids smart enough? All these things that, the ego just keeps us in this state of tension, right? And it's desire to try and keep us safe. And so understanding that anytime you have limiting thoughts or even negative thoughts, it's the ego.
Yeah.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
ego
Trying to
mind
keep you safe. Trying to keep you
trying to
safe. It
keep you
doesn't want
safe.
to let you
Right.
move
It's
into
like,
your, out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm.
exactly. It's like,
Keeps you
I'm safe.
stuck.
I'm safe. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because it doesn't,
And
anything
that's
that's
its purpose,
unknown.
right? Yeah. Well, it's especially, if you're going to touch something hot, it immediately makes you pull your hand away so you don't get burned. That's the type of, that's its job, to keep you safe, but it takes liberties. I think
No, it
it
sure
goes a little
does.
bit too far. Oh, don't do that. This could happen. What happens if that? Oh, then you'll be a failure and then then nobody will like you, this type of thing. You're better to stay where you are because at least you've not got what you want. You know what you've got.
Isn't
I
that the
find.
truth?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I see people stay in loveless marriages for decades where they're like,
Yes.
well, it's better than nothing. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
No, no.
and it's just the ego just limits us. The ego
Yeah.
and the body are kind of buddies. And
Yeah.
they keep us limited. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all about recognizing that there's another way to live your life, listening to a different source.
Yeah.
And is what we've been talking about. It's just, it makes life so much better. And it
It does.
changes how, and the thing is that as you change your thoughts, or you even change, let's just talk about beliefs for a second. If you think, belief is just a persistent thought, right? If you think something for long enough, then you're going to create a belief, right? I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Because I said it. I probably won't. There we go.
Yes, you did. There you
I
go.
think it was a cat hair. Sorry.
I know how that
But
feels.
but the thing is that the more that you think a thought, you can create a new belief, and then you can start seeing the world through new belief goggles. That's what I
New
like to call
lens,
them.
yeah.
Right, a
Mm-hmm.
new lens that opens you up to seeing things differently. So as soon as you
Yeah.
start looking at, when you change the way you think about things, the things you are looking at change.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Is the
true.
glass half
Mm-hmm.
empty? Is it half full? I mean, I just think
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that we have the ability in us to see the world however we choose, and
Mm-hmm.
see our lives however we choose, and create whatever we want.
Yeah.
That to me is fascinating,
It's
freeing,
phenomenal. Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. I mean,
It is.
and that's the other thing. It's like we are so powerful. We have no idea. We just
No,
don't.
we don't. Oh, I
So,
know that's incredible.
but it's
We've only got
conversations like these that will help people open up together.
yes,
So,
absolutely. We've only got a few minutes. I know you've
yeah.
got an offer that you
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
want to offer. You have an offer you want to offer. So can you
Yes,
tell us
of
quickly about
course.
this?
Well, life is a series of decisions, right? And we
Mhm.
want to be able to discern from the ego versus, our actual true self. And so I call the ego the head voice, and our true self is our heart voice. So being able to make decisions from your heart, this PDF that I put together will give you a nice little way of going about doing just that. You can run all sorts of scenarios through this process, and you'll be able to make decisions from your heart that will lead you to where you want to go in your life. So I think it's a really powerful little tool that I put together. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Julie. Now, we do have another couple of minutes. So this is your time. So why don't you tell us how you and I are working together and what it is that we're doing?
Oh, well, I saw a commercial about that. We are doing something called Quantum Awakening, and it's been going on for almost a year now.
Yeah.
And the idea is that we believe that as you heal yourself, you change your energy and you heal the world in the process. And we both kind of bonded over the idea that the square root of 1% of a population can actually affect a change in the consciousness of that population. And there have been studies done for since the 70s, even the 60s, I think, where people, experienced meditators and healers would go to major cities in the United States like Detroit or Chicago or Washington, D.C., where they had high crime rates. And they would meditate and focus on love and harmony, and literally would drop the crime rate by
Yeah.
15 to 20% in those cities. And they've documented that. So with that in mind, we are on a mission to harness the power of that square root of 1%. And it's only, 9,000 people that
9,000 people for the entire planet.
for the
Yes.
entire planet to be able to
Mm-hmm.
shift the overall
Shifted and
consciousness.
elevated. Yeah. It's
Yes.
wonderful.
And I think it's a wonderful concept that we have, and it's a real thing that can happen, but we need more people to join us. And so we are doing these at the full moon and the new moon. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a subscription. And for the cost of a couple of cups of Starbucks coffee, you can be a
Yeah.
part of it. Was it
It's a
$10 a month?
bargain.
Yes.
$10 a month. Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
great. You can be part of something massive.
Yeah. And you get a meditation
So
from me and a healing from Dawn. I mean, it's such
healing
a
session
wonderful
for
value.
me. Yeah. Yeah. QuantumAwakening.world if anyone is interested.
Yes, please join us. If you like
Yeah.
and what this is going on, you got more of this coming through Quantum
Yeah.
Awakening.
Absolutely. Julie, it's been a pleasure. It's always wonderful to have you
Oh,
and to
thank
have
you.
amazing conversations with you. I love that you and I were on such the same wavelength. I just love it. And looking forward to working with you for a lot longer.
Me too. Me too. Thanks
Thank you
again.
for joining me today, Julie.
My pleasure.
And thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, sweetheart. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.